Happy weekend, everyone. Josh's Severe Weather. Hope you all had a great week. We are going to see things getting very intense in the severe weather department here with another major storm getting ready to move into the West Coast here this weekend and likely to bring some very active weather into the central part of the country as Tornado Alley erupts. Our first widespread outbreak expected this spring from Texas to the Dakotas as we get late into the day on Monday and carrying eastward Monday night towards Missouri, eastern Oklahoma, and Kansas. And this threat for severe weather is likely to continue on Tuesday across the lower Ohio Valley, Mississippi Valley states, and possibly into Wednesday farther east towards Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, down into Alabama. So a very busy week expected here. What I'm going to do is kind of break things down for you, talk about what the current projections are and what I think may change as we get into the closer part of this forecast here on Monday. And then we'll also talk a little bit about some severe weather potential here tomorrow across portions of the Northeast. Here's a look at our current water vapor image. You can see our big storm that hammered parts of the deep south and eventually the Carolinas yesterday, finally beginning to lift away into Atlantic Canada and northern New England. That is going to bring some cool weather to start the weekend, but things are going to quickly warm up as this next ridge of high pressure advances north and east. You see on the map another powerful storm system spinning through the eastern Pacific, and that is going to move into California today and then track into the southwest and across Tornado Alley as we get into the start of next week. Very active subtropical jet stream that's going to send moisture northward out of the Gulf states or out of the Gulf of Mexico into the plains. You'll see that trajectory of moisture expanding northward here, leading to warm, more humid weather. And with this drier air mass in place here, we're going to have a dry line that sets up as our focus here for severe weather. So the area that we're going to be focusing on as we get into Sunday evening is going to be right along the dry line. And here, our low pressure system will be here, and we're going to see this transport of moisture out ahead of it. So a couple of ingredients here that are looking concerning as we head into the beginning of next week. So we're going to break down what that's going to look like here. Here's a look at the GFS model showing you guys kind of our upper level pattern. And here's our storm system moving into central California. This is going to be later tonight. And then as we head into the day tomorrow, it starts moving towards Nevada and Utah. As we get into the day on Monday, flow out of the south and west rounds the base of this trough very quickly. We see wind speeds that are going to be in excess of 80 to 90 knots. That's over 100 miles per hour at the 500 millibar level, rounding the base of this trough. And these winds are going to be out of the southwest and increasing as we get towards the evening hours in places like West Texas, Oklahoma, southwestern Kansas. And that flow around the upper lobe brings this instability all the way up into Dakotas as we get into late Monday night. So a very broad trough that's going to tighten up here and bring some expansive areas of strong winds as we get into Monday night. That is going to serve as our focus to see a longer period duration of severe weather. Anywhere from tornadoes and large hail at the onset to what could be a massive area of destructive winds with embedded tornadoes as we get into Monday night and Tuesday morning. The upper level low is going to continue northeastward towards Omaha on Tuesday night. Along and ahead of it, we still have very fast wind flow aloft across Missouri, Arkansas, southern Illinois. So the area that I guess we can call it Dixie Alley or Eastern Tornado Alley that's going to get hammered pretty hard here is going to be heading into Tuesday night across this region. As we get into Wednesday morning, we do see this flow becoming a little bit more broad, but it's still fast enough to support some severe weather Wednesday afternoon over parts of Ohio, West Virginia, Eastern Kentucky, and Tennessee. Maybe even parts of the Deep South see that as well. This storm system will weaken as it heads east. We will have another system coming in behind it that could lead to some active weather across portions of the Deep South. Here's a look at how the Storm Prediction Center's done this week. And what I'm going to say right now, I don't mean to be too critical, but let's just say they've had better weeks. And that should be a cue to you to not necessarily trust everything you see, but kind of have your head on a swivel. You can see here on Monday of this past week, the enhanced area did see some large hail and strong winds, but we had severe weather all the way up into western Tennessee and northwest Mississippi beyond the marginal area of severe weather that was expected. So things definitely overachieved. Tuesday's forecast was better, but a lot of the tornadoes occurred out ahead of the morning forecast of the enhanced risk area, slight risk area, southwestern Louisiana. And a lot of that was because our storm complex did in fact move quicker than expected here. We had kind of a derecho get started here early in the morning on Wednesday, and that affected Lake Charles in the slight risk area. But we also had tornadoes in the Jackson, Mississippi area that was barely in a marginal risk, and severe wind across areas east all the way to near Meridian, Mississippi. Now, the forecast for the day on Wednesday was very much advertised. We had severe weather, but if you look at the area that was under the moderate risk, we really didn't have tornadoes except on the southwestern tip of it. They were actually more in the enhanced risk near Slidell, Louisiana, and over towards Pensacola. So not a bad forecast day. And again, you know, we can all say hindsight's 2020. But then we got to Thursday, and unfortunately, this was a day that just was not very well anticipated. The enhanced risk barely saw severe weather. Ohio pretty much escaped the worst. We did have some rough weather across West Virginia, certainly flooding. But as we look across the Carolinas, that's where our tornadoes happened in a marginal risk area across the western Piedmont foothills region, the Catawba Valley here. We did have a strong tornado as well across parts of northeast Florida. So definitely more active south and east of the enhanced risk area than what was anticipated. And then no severe weather was really forecast yesterday, but we had a random tornado across northeast Kentucky. And we did have a complex of severe weather that developed south of Fort Bragg and made it all the way to the coast last night, places like Morehead City and even close to Cape Lookout here. So bottom line is we are in severe weather season. Do not just trust a slight risk or a marginal risk as being a dismissive forecast. There's certainly a chance anywhere there's a thunderstorm this time of the year where there could be severe weather. The area that was pinpointed as having the greatest chance for severe weather yesterday ended up being Eastern Oregon and Idaho, where nothing happened. All the severe weather was just in the general risk. We even had severe winds in Eastern Ohio where lightning wasn't even anticipated. Now, I do think this next one definitely gives us something we need to be on our toes with here. A very concerning outbreak expected here on Monday afternoon and evening. Northwest Texas, eastern Texas Panhandle, much of Oklahoma, south central Kansas. There's going to be a threat for tornadoes and significant wind and hail in the hatched area, anywhere from near Midland and San Angelo right on up through western Oklahoma, Oklahoma City included here near Tulsa, Wichita, all the way up into south central Nebraska. I'm sorry, it gets cut off here. And, you know, there's a possibility this area of red is going to grow, and we could even see a moderate risk in pink across somewhere in this region. Tough to say exactly where that's going to be, but I have a hunch that it will happen. We just need to get a little bit closer to the event before that does, in fact, occur. We also have a high fire danger west of this area in the dry air mass. Southwest Texas, northeast New Mexico, and southeast Colorado could see dangerous wildfires as well. It's been a rough spring here, and I don't think this will be any different. Here's a look at the ingredients that are going to be in place. I showed you guys this earlier, but I want to zoom in a little bit closer so you can see what's going to happen. Difluent flow here, where the flow kind of spreads out. We see it southerly over Colorado and southwesterly over Oklahoma. As this air spreads out, we'll see some growth in our thunderstorm activity here. And as the winds pick up here, a growing threat for tornadoes across this region. It's going to be Monday evening when I think the best chance for this will occur. We will see this trough ejecting north and east, and look how quickly the wind flow aloft picks up across Missouri and northwestern parts of Arkansas overnight. This is a very strong push out of the south-southwest, 90 to 100 knot winds we need to be very concerned with, and it continues up into Nebraska and South Dakota, so the threat isn't just Oklahoma and Kansas, but farther north as well. This is the NAM model. As we get into the day on Tuesday, you'll see the wind flow gets very strong out of the south-southwest, and we just have to see if there's going to be enough sunshine to keep things going here, give you a break, and then see more things going here Tuesday afternoon. So this will continue east into Illinois and Tennessee. Here's a look at our risk for significant tornadoes as a result because of this wind shear. It's pretty low early in the day on Monday, but starts growing Monday afternoon. And then this is going to be 7 o'clock Central Time, and take a look at this growing area of concern here. It's from northeastern Texas Panhandle through western Oklahoma into southwest Kansas, but even an area up into South Dakota we need to keep an eye on here in the evening on Monday. As the night wears on, this parameter is going to drop off slightly, but it will still be supportive of a few tornadoes around Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, right on up into places like Grand Island, Nebraska, maybe even getting close to Lincoln here by daybreak on Tuesday. But as you can imagine, as we get into some cooler air, into a little bit more stable air, despite the strong wind flow aloft, we are going to see somewhat of a drop off in the threat for significant tornadoes there still could be tornadoes and there still could be damaging wind, but less likely we're going to see supercell type tornadoes. This is a snapshot of 7 o'clock in the evening on Monday. Very long photographs here in an area of very unstable air. Pulling up a sounding, you can see there is certainly a threat for tornadoes. South-southeast wind flow aloft goes over to south-southwest. This is just one snapshot. This one says potentially a marginal tornado. If you go into Oklahoma, I think you're going to see that chance for tornadoes start to climb here after this timestamp. We also see a chance for tornadoes here across Nebraska. If you take a look at the sounding here, we see very good flow out of the southeast growing and then becoming sheared and over to the southwest here once we get above 700 millibars. So I didn't want to get too technical, but I just wanted to show you guys that the ingredients are there in place for these tornadoes. They continue into the evening, and then I think we're going to see, if you kind of pull up a sounding here from eastern Kansas, there is a tornado risk, but a little bit less directional wind shear. There may actually be just more of a mesoscale convective system that produces widespread wind damage and perhaps a tornado or two embedded within that as it races north and east. Omaha, Nebraska, though, in the morning on Tuesday, you are potentially under the gun here. Here's a look at what the sounding looks like in Omaha. Pretty big storm slinky here, winds going southeast at the surface over the southerly above the ground. The only thing we're missing is a lot of instability, but we do have enough for that to occur. Zooming back here, or skipping back here to the lightning flash density, you'll see things are going to pick up here across Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. We're also going to have a leading area of intense storms over the Dakotas, western Iowa, northern Missouri, and eastern parts of Nebraska. The time frame on this is going to be 1 in the morning Tuesday, so overnight, a very noisy setup expected Monday night. As we get into Tuesday, more storms firing up and moving across Oklahoma, moving into Arkansas and Missouri, even into northwestern Illinois. Iowa's going to have active weather during the day Tuesday. And even behind this main area of severe weather, we could still have storms across Kansas, the Dakotas, and even Minnesota here in the afternoon Tuesday. But I think the greatest chance for severe weather is going to be approaching the Mississippi River Valley. Speaking of that area, here's the area that is potentially under the gun for at least a slight risk, and I would not be shocked if we went to an enhanced risk here. Eastern Iowa is the area of greatest concern. Western Illinois, northeastern parts of Missouri. I think there'll be a secondary area to watch as well across Arkansas, maybe at night moving into Mississippi and western Tennessee and Kentucky, and maybe even northeastern Texas and southeastern Oklahoma. Kind of a bimodal area here that we need to keep an eye on Tuesday. Details still to be kind of ironed out, but you can see the severe weather threat extends all the way down to the south and east of Dallas for the day on Tuesday. Here's a look at where the lightning is going to be around midday on Tuesday. And as we roll into the evening hours, very active southern part of this from the Arklatex, northwest Louisiana, right on up into western Tennessee, even overnight moving into northwest Mississippi, where there will be somewhat of a tornado threat. Illinois, Indiana, southern Wisconsin, eastern Iowa, all going to be kind of a messy setup here, but we could see a few rounds of severe weather as well. Fortunately, Wednesday, I don't think the greatest chance for severe weather, but we certainly still have to watch things in Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, on the northern side, maybe even sneaking into western PA, but again, not certain on that. Ohio has certainly had an overachieving amount of severe weather this year, and I think this continues for this storm. But we also have to watch the southern tail of this storm across Alabama, Mississippi, maybe even into middle Tennessee here Wednesday afternoon. Again, not quite a certain setup yet for severe weather, and there will be a second wave behind it that could produce severe weather Thursday afternoon and Thursday night across parts of Dixie Alley. Here's a look at our instability here. It's not going to be great yet on Monday, but we could have a few thunderstorms. As we get to Tuesday, though, you can see the area that stretches from Iowa down into Texas. It's going to move eastward here. We're going to have some wind shear. Take a look at some of these photographs here, pulling up southeastern Missouri. We do have a tornado threat as well. Southwesterly flow going over to west-southwesterly aloft. Certainly something to be watching. Also concerning is what could happen in Arkansas. Again, details are going to be changing between now and the event, but something we need to watch for Tuesday. And then Tuesday night, keep an eye on stuff down here across Mississippi here. Here's a look just west of Jackson, the Delta region. Right now, not showing a threat for severe weather, but that's because there's a bit of a cap here. But as that cap breaks, we need to be watching more closely. Taking a look at Ohio, not as unstable, but take a look at some of these photographs. They're starting to get longer, which is of concern. This is Wednesday afternoon around Peebles and Chillicothe. And again, it's too dry to see severe weather action at that point. However, hit the wrong button. Moving this along just one more step here, you can see we definitely have to keep an eye on things across eastern Kentucky. There is at least a marginal risk to see a tornado across this region. Backing things up real fast, and I'll wrap it up here. There is a threat for some severe weather tomorrow over parts of Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania, northern West Virginia, even northern Maryland, and potentially to the Delaware Valley and Twin Tiers region here, at least a marginal risk. And there is a tornado risk as well, 2% here. Not an enhanced risk, but one that we need to watch from near Columbus all the way to Scranton, State College, Williamsport, and Harrisburg. A severe wind threat as well across this area, 15% chance where that slight risk is, and there's a hail risk as well here. And most of this will be in the afternoon. If you look at the simulated satellite, you can see we're going to have some storms dropping down from Ontario into this region here around late morning, so 10, 11 o'clock here as people are going to church. That's going to move away, and then a second piece drops down from upstate New York into Pennsylvania, Ohio, and this is the area we need to watch here late in the afternoon and early in the evening on Sunday. And some leftover showers and storms making it down to Philly, New York City, Long Island, southern New England here around 10, 11 o'clock. So yet more rain for the weekend here in parts of the Northeast. It'll fade when it gets down to the Potomac, but certainly until that happens, we've got to keep an eye on this potential severe weather. We're going to have unsettled weather in New England today. That lifts out. Great Lakes system moves through here, and we'll see a few showers and storms, which could marginally become severe here later in the morning on Sunday. And then the next wave drops down, and you can see this frontal line from Ohio into Massachusetts. Best chance for severe weather is going to be across parts of western and central Pennsylvania around Clearfield and Clarion, for example. Just pulling up a sounding to show you guys there is somewhat of a tornado threat here as winds at the surface are west-southwest, then they go west-northwest, so there's some directional wind shear. It's not highly unstable, but unstable enough, so it's possible we could see a tornado or two somewhere across this region. That's probably our worst-case scenario at this point. That line will hold together but fade after about 9 or 10 o'clock when it hits the Mason-Dixon line, and then things should quiet down after that. Here's a closer look at Indiana and Ohio, and you can see even though there's a marginal risk in eastern Indiana tomorrow, looks like eastern Ohio is modeled to have the best chance for severe weather, but even Parkersburg and Wheeling need to keep an eye on things here during the late afternoon and evening hours. Looking at Pennsylvania here, again, this is the threat for rotating thunderstorms. Nothing until early in the day on Sunday, watching northwestern PA, western New York, and then we'll see an uptick in activity here towards the late afternoon and evening hours along I-80, and then expanding down towards the turnpike here around 9, 10 o'clock in the evening tomorrow. So it's a marginal risk, or a slight risk, but something we definitely need to watch. Longer term, don't plant things just yet. If you're in the Tennessee and Ohio valleys, the Arctic oscillation is going to go negative. It'll be a very warm week, but then colder air returns here next weekend. And we do have a cold snap expected here between the 20th and the 25th of the month of April, and no big warm up coming to the east later in the month April like we'll see this upcoming week. Here's a look at the European longer range. You can see the warmth here this upcoming week, but then colder air will be swinging south and eastward by next weekend, all the way down into the Gulf states. Much below average temperatures expected across the Ohio Valley here next weekend and into the following week. And that chill sticks with us into the end of the month of April across the mid-Atlantic states. So that's gonna hurt our chances of seeing major severe weather, but it may not be enough to stop the severe weather. The bigger concern will be the potential for frost in places like Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Ohio here as we get into about the 20th to the 25th. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Please be safe out there. I will be traveling on vacation finally to Florida, so I'm going to enjoy great weather, but I'll give you guys some updates when I have a little bit of time. Again, I thank you for watching. I thank you for your support, and I ask if you haven't supported, consider becoming a subscriber. As much as I appreciate you guys, I give all the glory to God. This is my calling from God. It's to glorify Him, to put on the whole armor of God here, and to live my calling to be a meteorologist and to share the good news with everybody else. For much of my life, I tried to take all the credit, give myself all the credit, and it was disappointing. I got to a point in my life where I was in a deep, dark spot where I put all my weight in my accomplishments and how much money I made, what people thought of me, and not what I was truly made to be by God. But I was I was changed. I accepted Jesus as my Savior in at the end of March 2013, and since then it's been a humbling experience. It's been a difficult journey. That was just the beginning, but I know my journey continues here, and this is my opportunity to share my faith with you. Matthew 6:33. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. I pray that you're a believer, but if you're not, I don't want you to feel like I'm judging you, because that's not what I'm here to accomplish. It's just here to share how Jesus Christ has impacted my life and how God has called me to do wonderful things. I pray that He has for you as well. And if you are going through a difficult time in your life, we've all been there. Just know that the battles can be fought by God, that you don't have to do it yourself. All you have to do is trust in Him. And I will be happy to pray for you, as I'm taking a week off here to do so, to spend a little bit more time in prayer and a little bit more time with God here. So hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will catch up with you soon. God bless.